We've all seen fans express love for their favorite characters in a variety of ways: buying merch, celebrating their birthday, shrines, building a church in reverence to them, marrying them. Well, how about this? Building a museum for them. That's what one Touhou fan did in particular for his favorite character, Cirno. Today, we'll be visiting the Cirno Museum. When asking my viewers about places in Japan they'd like to see me cover in a video, the Cirno Museum stuck out to me the most. It was relatively close to Tokyo and wouldn't take much digging to find much information about it either. It shows up on Google Maps. In fact, you'll see a lot of fun comments on the page for it, so it had to be legit, right? Realizing I had to check this out, I contacted the owner to schedule a visit and interview prior to leaving for Japan. When the day finally arrived, I took a train ride out to Tokyo into the Kanagawa prefecture. The whole trip only took a couple of hours to get there. After exiting the train and a quick bus ride, I began my trek up to the museum. It wouldn't take long before I spotted the fittingly igloo-shaped structure and made my way inside. Now, you may be asking, what's actually in the Cirno Museum? Simply put, it's a massive collection of Cirno merchandise on display for people to admire, and let's just say, I was not disappointed. Immediately as I entered, figures, shirts, cards, art, pillows, you name it. If it was Cirno, it was most likely here. And before you ask, because I know you guys would, yes, there was an entire section behind a curtain for adult viewing. You can let your minds fill in the details of what was beyond there. At most, I will confirm there were indeed pillows and thin books. While interviewing the owner, I was given permission to film the contents of the museum, which you are seeing now, and boy, did I get a lot of footage. Every time I went around the room, I did another go-over because I realized there was more stuff I managed to completely gloss over in my recording. So, how long has the museum been here? Well, it opened officially in 2018, but the structure and its contents have been here since 2016, getting occasional visitors. All of the goods here were mostly found at different events like Kamaket, Reitaisai, or special sales at Akiba Hobby. One of the more surprising things I learned about was that the building was built by the owner specifically with the museum in mind. The walls were made of styrofoam with a concrete base. The steel beams in the middle were only there to pass inspection. When asked about what the hardest thing to get a hold of was out of everything in their collection, rather than any particular good, the answer was travel costs for the Touhou event Dai Kyushu Tohosai, which takes place in Kyushu every year. Q is actually the kanji for 9, so instead the event name has the infamous 9 ball in its place, Dai Kyushu Tohosai. Oh, and while we're talking about names, Dai, which is typically just big or great, is also the first kanji for Daiose. You can decide if that's intentional or not. It makes sense that the owner takes the chance to go there every year, seeing as there's a very clear focus on Cirno at this event, if the website is anything to go off of. Of course, things are still being added to the museum as new merchandise releases, and if you're wondering how they keep track of what they do and don't have, I was shown. They keep a series of organized Excel sheets and picture catalogs separated into different categories to determine what is missing and what isn't. Some of the stuff in the collection is very much impossible to get these days. For example, within the Cirno card collection, there are cards from super niche card games that nobody even plays anymore. Of course, there's not just trading cards, there's Cirno credit cards, which, when I say it has everything, I meant it. One of my favorite stories I was told was a group of 6 elementary school kids who came to visit with their parents from the Kanto region. Apparently the museum has a lot of child visitors, as Touhou is quite popular with younger kids. There was apparently one time a boy was surprised to see Marissa without a body because he had only ever seen the Yukuri Marissa. After the interview, I just chatted with the owner a bit about Touhou. In their opinion, most fans in Japan aren't elitist and are in fact pretty nice, going as far as to say that most of them haven't even played a single one of the games. Sound familiar? Oh, but I guess there was one more question I had. Why Cirno specifically? To which I simply got, I just got really invested into her. And honestly, I get it. But with that, I said my goodbyes and began to return stateside. You can check out the museum's schedule on the owner's twitter.com account, link in the description. Be sure to let them know if you plan on going via direct message and which of the approved days you wish to visit. Though keep in mind they only speak Japanese. And for the day of the actual visit, be sure to give them a rough time frame for when you think you'll arrive, just to be polite. Other than that, be respectful. Oh, and feel free to bring along your own Cirno art if you want to give it to the owner. I very much enjoyed my visit, and I was glad I had the opportunity to go. Hopefully, I've even convinced a couple of you to head down and give it a visit yourselves, or at the very least, gave you a peek at the dedication of a hardcore Touhou fan. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing. I'll see you all next time.